Professor Alpha was rarely wrong. That was not what made him difficult. Many people are rarely wrong about something: weather, grammar, wine, other people's marriages. Professor Alpha was rarely wrong about anything that could be measured, modeled, corrected, or quietly disproven. And unfortunately for everyone around him, almost everything counted. He taught economics at a university whose buildings looked older than most of the theories inside them. His students admired him. He had a way of entering the lecture hall without seeming to arrive. One moment the room was full of scrolling phones and whispered panic about assignments. The next moment, he was standing behind the lectern, arranging his notes into a perfectly straight line. He never asked for silence. He simply waited until the noise became embarrassed. His lectures often began with the same correction. Years later, he is still making exactly the same point.
People say markets are irrational. That's inaccurate. Irrational implies randomness. Markets are emotionally predictable. Human beings become greedy in groups and terrified individually. The details change. The choreography doesn't.
To the students, the graphs look confusing. Monetary policy, market volatility, investor sentiment. To Professor Alpha, they looked familiar. A student once asked whether the financial crisis had really been predictable. Professor Alpha had answered that question many times over the years. His answer never really changed. Even today, his answer remains almost unchanged.
Predictable is a dangerous word, but structurally obvious to anyone not being paid to misunderstand it? Yes.
Back in the lecture hall, the room always became quiet. Not impressed, not offended, something worse, careful. People listened to Professor Alpha the way people watch surgeons operate on birthday cakes. Technically impressive, socially troubling. At dinners, he corrected timelines and stories. At conferences, he asked questions so precise, entire discussions quietly died in front of him. He did not think of this as cruelty. He thought of it as maintenance. The world, in his opinion, leaned constantly toward error. Someone had to push back. People didn't leave Professor Alpha dramatically. They simply began choosing softer rooms. Years earlier, before the gray suits and careful shoes, there had been another version of him. Back then, people called him Al. Al played guitar badly, but passionately in a band that never agreed on a name. He loved progressive rock because, according to him, ordinary rhythm was a form of surrender. He laughed more then. He fell in love once with a woman named Elena. At first, she loved how intensely he thought. Later, she missed being spoken to. One evening, she told him,
"Talking to you feels like being graded."
Professor Alpha remembered that sentence for decades, mostly because it was accurate. Over time, Al became Alpha. The laugh became rarer. The predictions became better. During the dot-com bubble, he quietly sold before the collapse. During the financial crisis, he quietly bought while others panicked. He made extraordinary amounts of money, quietly. No hedge fund, no television appearances, no lavish parties, no motivational posts beside sports cars. He did not care about attention. Attention distorted things. Besides, money was never the real reward. The real reward was confirmation. Reality repeatedly proving him correct. People often wondered why a man who understood markets so well had never started an investment firm. Professor Alpha's explanation was always the same. Ask him today, and he will tell you exactly the same thing.
If a hedge fund manager loses money conventionally, he keeps his job. If he loses money unconventionally, he becomes a cautionary tale. That incentive structure alone explains most market behavior.
Most people smiled politely, unsure whether he had been joking. With Professor Alpha, it was often difficult to tell. Whenever students asked what successful investing really required, Professor Alpha gave almost the same lecture. His view of successful investing was equally unsentimental. He still describes successful investing in almost exactly the same way.
Most people think investing is about intelligence. Usually, it isn't. It's about emotional tolerance. Can you stay calm while everyone panics? Very few people can. Human beings would rather suffer together than look ridiculous alone.
Yet at the university, colleagues assumed he lived modestly because professors usually did. His suits were old. His car looked apologetic. When people joked that he probably knew nothing about real investing, he did not correct them. There was satisfaction in being underestimated. Still, university life became exhausting. Committees about feelings, workshops about collaborative language, strategic documents where every sentence had been polished until it meant nothing. One afternoon, the department chair asked him to stay.
You are brilliant, but you make people feel small.
I correct errors.
You correct people.
That distinction is emotional.
That distinction is human.
Professor Alpha adjusted his sleeve.
I am disappointed in systems. People just happen to operate them.
She looked at him sadly. Not angrily, sadly. That bothered him more. A month later, he resigned. No scandal, no dramatic speech, just fatigue. After retirement, he moved quietly outside the city. A small, elegant house, several monitors, shelves full of books, economics, history, mathematics, music theory. Behind a row of old journals, he kept a photograph of a younger man with long hair, holding a guitar beside 3 laughing friends. He never threw it away. His days became simple. Coffee, charts, market reports, silence. One evening, during another market panic, a young analyst on television said,
"No one could have seen this coming."
Professor Alpha opened one of his notebooks. 18 months earlier, he had written down almost the exact sequence now unfolding across the market. Not perfectly. Reality was never that polite, but close enough. Whenever markets become irrational again, Professor Alpha returns to the same conclusion.
Human beings hate repetition, especially their own. Every generation wants to believe it invented greed or fear or financial stupidity. It never does. The technology changes. The emotional architecture remains almost embarrassingly identical.
Back at his desk, he made a trade. Outside, the lake darkened. His phone rested beside the keyboard. No new messages. Professor Alpha looked at it for a moment longer than necessary. Then he turned it face down. On the screen, red numbers moved like weather. The world was making sense again. In the quiet house, surrounded by books, charts, and the soft mechanical hum of machines, he allowed himself a small smile. People had stopped inviting him places years ago. The market never did.